Hey everyone! Today, we're going to dive into a really fundamental rule of nature. It's about how one tiny shift in temperature can kick off this incredible chain reaction, a reaction that scales up from a single living cell all the way to the entire planet. It's a huge idea from ecology that honestly explains so much about the world. So let's get right into it. So let's just start with the biggest question of all, right? Why is temperature such a massive deal for life? I mean, why does it seem to change absolutely everything? The answer, it turns out, is way more interesting than you might think, and it connects the tiniest reactions inside a cell to the giant patterns that shape our world. And to really get that connection, we have to look under the hood. We need to talk about the engine that's driving every single living thing. And that engine is metabolism. So what is metabolism? Well, at its core, it's pretty simple. It's just the sum of all the chemical reactions that are keeping an organism alive. It's how life grabs energy, whether it's from the sun or from food, and then uses that energy to do everything, to grow, to move, to make more of itself. It's literally the process of being alive.
Yeah, the best way to picture this is to think of a tiny little engine just humming away inside every single cell. It's always on, always burning fuel to create the power that life needs. And just like the engine in a car, you can turn the dial up or down on how fast it runs.
So what's turning the dial? What's pushing the accelerator on this engine of life? You probably guessed it. It's temperature. Temperature is the master controller. It dictates the speed of pretty much everything. Now, check this out. It basically boils down to these two huge processes. On one side, you've got photosynthesis. That's how life, like plants, makes its energy from sunlight. And on the other, you've got respiration, which is how basically all life uses that energy. The key thing to get from the paper is that both of these processes are ancient, they're everywhere, and they are incredibly sensitive to temperature. As things get warmer, the reactions just happen faster. The engine literally speeds up. Okay, and this is where it gets really, really cool. Because a change in one of these tiny little engines, it doesn't just happen in a vacuum. Nope, it creates a ripple effect. Let's follow how this one little change scales all the way up. So it all starts super small. We're talking about a single microbe, or one blade of grass, or one little insect. As the temperature changes, its metabolism, the speed of its engine, changes right along with it. It just starts living its life a little bit faster, or maybe a little bit slower. But of course, that one organism isn't alone. And when its entire population starts running their engines faster, the effects start to multiply. The whole group can grow faster, they can eat up resources way more quickly, and they can reproduce faster too. All of a sudden, that tiny change in speed becomes a huge shift for the entire population.
And now we scale up again. Because populations don't exist in a bubble, right? If you have a population of algae that suddenly starts booming because the water is warmer, what happens to the little creatures that eat it? And then what about the fish that eat them? The whole food web starts to get rewired. It's not just about one species speeding up. It's about the timing and the rhythm of the entire community getting thrown off.
Okay, so we've gone from a single cell to a population to a whole community of different species. So let's pull the camera all the way back and look at the final piece of this whole puzzle, the entire ecosystem. See, when you add up all those smaller changes, you get these massive shifts in how the whole system works. We're talking about big changes in the total amount of living stuff out there, what scientists call biomass. It messes with how essential things like nutrients and carbon move through the environment. So a tiny little tweak to that metabolic engine, once it's scaled up 1,000,000 times, can completely re-engineer the natural world. And look, this isn't just some wild idea. This quote comes directly from the paper we're looking at, and it really gets to the heart of it. Scientists are finding that these effects are surprisingly regular. That part's key. It means the rules that control a little pond might be shockingly similar to the rules that control a huge patch of the ocean. It's a powerful, unifying idea in ecology. So this brings us to what's probably the most important question of all. Knowing all of this, what can we expect to happen in the future? Why does understanding this theory matter so much right now? It matters because this isn't just some neat piece of science. It's a really critical tool. As our planet keeps warming up, this whole theory gives us a framework,
a set of rules, basically, that helps us predict the kinds of ecological changes we're likely to see. It helps us turn what if into actual testable science. Of course, the science is never totally finished, right? The paper is very clear that there are still big challenges. Nature is always changing. And how do you model really complicated positive things, like species helping each other out? And what about this idea of thermal asymmetries? What happens when a predator speeds up from the heat at a totally different rate than its prey? These are the big questions researchers are tackling right now. So, in the end, we're kind of back where we started, but now we're seeing it all through a completely new lens. We've seen that temperature isn't just a number, it's like the master switch for the engine of life itself. And its effects scale up in these predictable ways, from one cell to the whole biosphere. Which really leaves us with one final massive question to think about. What happens to our world when we just keep turning up the heat?